I have always known that the mind is powerful, but recently I've been consuming a lot of Neville Goddard content, and I must tell you, Neville Goddard's content has to be one of the best things that has happened to me in 2025. I am Annabelle Kemi, a certified mindset coach, and I love to describe myself as a maverick. And one of my favorite things to do is to come here and encourage you to be the best version of yourself possible. I've always understood that you are what you think, but I have never put it to practice like I have done in the past 3 months. When I began to listen to Neville Goddard on a daily basis, I realized that there's more to life than we know. A lot of us just live our lives as though everything is physical, forgetting that the internal determines the external. What we think determines what we see. Even though a lot of us are Christians and the Bible says that ye are gods, we forget that we are co-creators with the one who made us. We are not just here like pieces on some chess game that one mastermind up there is controlling. Sadly, that is how most of us think. You see people practically beg their way through life. They visit their worship centers and all they do is cry and beg that almighty power to help them become what they want to become, forgetting that the one who made them has already given them everything they need to create the world they want for themselves. In so many ways, Jesus Christ said it in the Bible. In so many ways, other mystics have said it. A lot of our religious teachings tell us this in subtle and not so subtle ways. But because we just love difficulty, we just love to say that it was my hard work that brought me thus far, particularly Africans. We love to attribute everything to our power, to our physical strength, and we do not want anything that's simple. That is why you go to an African school and the professors and lecturers are so tough. And you wonder, is it not the same education that is being taught in the West that is taught in Africa? Why is ours so difficult to grasp? Yet, with all the toughness and all the rigidity and all the force, Africa has failed to move from where we have always been. Beneath. Sadly, because our minds refuse to comprehend the fact that what we need to create the world we want for ourselves is more internal than external. In one of Neville Goddard's teachings, he said, simplicity is one of the greatest challenges for the human mind. And I agree totally. We find it difficult to accept that we do not need so much effort to get what we need. I'm not saying we should be lazy. No, as a matter of fact, using your mind is even more difficult and more challenging than the physical work that we do. You think it is your 9 to 5 that is going to make you a billionaire? You think the 1% of the 1% did it by physical labor? Of course not. It's high time you started thinking differently. You have done it physically for far too long. It's high time you sat back and asked yourself, what haven't I tried? Maybe I should try creating in my mind first and see what happens. And that's what I'm advocating for today. I need you to begin to think and feel what you want to become. I need you to begin to envision that future you want for yourself first in your mind. Assume it, like Neville Goddard will say. Take it in, act like it, be it in your mind. And you will see it begin to unfold on the outside. You know, I used to have this scarcity mindset. I was always worried when my bank balance got to a certain level. And I know I'm not alone on this. A lot of us are like that. I begin to sweat. I get agitated. My heart begins to palpitate. But recently, I've imbibed this calm. And do you know what? Ever since I started telling myself that it is not my bank balance that determines my wealth, I don't know how the universe is going to do it, but this is how I see myself. And I begin to imagine in my mind's eye how much my bank balance is per time. I always see myself wealthy and abundant. That's the first thing I envision in the morning, and that's the last thing I think about at night. Not thinking as per worrying. I feel it in my spirit that you are living in abundance. You are living in wealth. You cannot lack. Guess what? I got money coming from left, right, center. I did not even act like I needed the money, but it came. When you begin to assume the stature of that person you want to be, begin to live the lifestyle you want for yourself, first in your mind, the universe just conspires to make everything work for you. It just does. everything just falls in place. I am not a very religious person, but I am very spiritual. And one verse of the Bible that I hold on to strongly is Romans 8:28, where he said, all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Whenever I begin to doubt myself, I just remember that verse of the Bible. And these days, remember the teachings of the great Neville Goddard. I put it to practice. And before you know it, things fall in place. Now, my favorite saying is this: it is done. I have won. If you haven't listened to Neville Goddard, I suggest you do listen to him. He won the lottery a couple of times simply by using those two sentences. It is done. I have won. I'm not saying you go about saying these things rhetorically and thinking something magical will happen. No. First, practice changing your thoughts pattern. Practice working on the things that you consume from the outside and the things that come out of you. Paying more attention to your thoughts. Once you have put all these things in order, believe me, things will begin to take shape. Because we've been so used to living the difficult life, it may be challenging for you to begin to just let go and let the universe do its thing, simply by agreeing with your mind that I am living in abundance and abundance is my heritage. It is difficult, I understand, but take your time. If you haven't started yet, please start today. Please begin to turn your life around, first by turning your thought pattern around, and you'll discover life is way easier than society wants you to believe. You could become the first millionaire or billionaire in your family simply by putting your mind to work. You could become that confident woman or man you've always wanted to be simply by putting your mind to work. This is not some woo-woo practice. This is not juju. This is nothing of such. This is me simply saying rest and imbibe the feeling of who you want to become. And before you know it, the universe will conspire to make everything fall in place and all things will begin to work together for your good. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again next week. But in the meantime, more mind, less physical efforts. I love you. Ciao.